I haven't checked on comic book news recently. Let's have a look, shall we? Oh, for fuck's sake. Mark Waid, what are you up to? Scheming again, are we?
Scheming? Scheming? Blackie Chan is always so polite. King maybe shows stupid retailers lazy comic book ideas that no one with self-respect would ever read, and they say scheme. Scheme? Very nice, friend. Oh yes, my precious, very nice, very nice.
All right. Just startled me with you still being alive and all. But seriously, what were you doing?
Scheming.
Mark Waid. I was just thinking the other day that it's been a while since we heard anything about him. And then here we go. What the fuck are you doing, man? The first time, it could be a misunderstanding. The second time, that could be a coincidence. But like the 8th time, nigga, that's a pattern. How many times when you pop up in the news is it about you messing with somebody? How many people have to come forward saying that you did some shady shit to them? This just keeps happening because you don't know when to quit. So let me explain what happened. Dennis Barger, a retailer, was at the Diamond Retailer Summit where Waid pitched his humanoid H1 books to them. He gave his speech and Barger recorded it, and then afterward, Barger goes to talk to Waid at his booth, and then things get pissy. Now apparently these two don't like each other. Bleeding Pool, I know, not the best source, has an article up explaining that they've been sniping at each other for years. But what you're going to see is that there's clearly something wrong with Mark Waid. He has a legitimate character flaw that makes him think he can do bad things without consequences because he thinks he's right. This is the typical SJW mentality. This is just how these people think. And this is why Waid got into it with Barger. Again, these two don't like each other, so you kind of have to take what they say happened with a grain of salt. Barger says that he went to the panel to hear Waid's pitch for the humanoid books. He carries the humanoid books in his store, but they don't really sell. But he was willing to hear Waid's pitch anyway, which turned out to be an SJW gangbang of wokeness. That's a video on its own. Anyway, Barger recorded this pitch, and then when Waid got off stage, Barger turned off his camera, and he says, quote, as he's walking by, he points to me and tells the lady he's with,
"See that guy? He's one of those garbage humans I was telling you about."
Always wise to tell a retailer at a retailer summit they are a garbage human. Yeah, now, it does seem mighty convenient that Barger stopped recording right before this happened. And in fairness, this doesn't sound like something Waid would say. He may have said something similar to that, but this seems a little embellished. But I totally buy that Mark Waid would throw shade at Barger, because that fits his MO. Waid does stuff like this, casually throwing out negative labels, poisoning the well against anyone he doesn't like. He did that during his deposition several times. So yeah, I could see Waid saying something that could be interpreted as human garbage without him specifically using those words. And look at what he's doing. He's going after the people who order his books. If you turn off the retailers, that's a significant chunk of humanoid's market. Why would you attack the people who buy your product? Because if you're doing it to him, you're doing it to someone else too. You're gossiping about him, turning people against him, and for what? Because you have a personal beef with them? Because they don't agree with your politics? Come on, man. You can't run a business doing this shit. But, Mark is gonna Waid. So Barger goes up to Waid at Waid's booth. There's a woman there who I think is Harley from the pitch that Waid did. She explains some of the retailer's perks for the new line. I think that this is her, but Barger doesn't mention the woman's name, so it could be someone else. Barger says, quote, as I walked up to Humanoid's booth, Mark immediately says,
"Go away, Dennis. You aren't welcome here,"
while making the shoo away gestures with his hands. I laugh at him and I say, I'm a customer coming to check out your product. The lady immediately stands next to Mark and remains silent. Mark just continues,
"Go away, Dennis. We don't want your business. You're not even a real comic shop anymore."
Now that sounds like Mark Waid. What the fuck do you mean he's not a real comic shop? That he's selling stuff other than comics? You know why he's doing that? Because of you and folks like Kwanzaa and Mags and your unlikable, unreadable, unsellable books. Because of creators like you getting obsessed with identity politics, you've managed to run away the niche market that kept comic book stores afloat. If they want to stay open, they have no choice but to expand what they sell. They can't just be a comic book shop. They have to sell things people actually want to buy. You should be apologizing instead of getting pissy. Barger says that he talked to the woman hoping, quote, that she has some sense. So I'm being denied the preview of your comics. Mark reaches over and picks up his free comic book day comic and throws it at me and says,
"You can have this."
Did he throw it at him? Maybe. Did he dickishly fling it at him off the table? Probably. And there's this woman with him, presumably working for humanoids, meaning she's likely at his level or his superior, and she just lets this happen. If you did that at Target, after dealing with a customer who screamed at you, cussed you out, threatened you, and tried to assault you, you still get fired if you push their stuff to them, let alone threw it at them. This is how unhinged these people are. We're seeing this with that guy who journalists doxed because they thought he doctored a video of Nancy Pelosi that their dumbasses thought was legit. They put this man's name and face out there without knowing for sure that he made the video. And then other lefty journalists applauded the doxing because they're all up inside Nancy Pelosi's cootie cat. These are the same people who think that simply wearing a MAGA hat is violence, but throwing milkshakes at people they don't like is perfectly fine. So what happens next shouldn't surprise anyone. Quote, I batted it away from me and say, are you crazy throwing a comic at me? And besides, I already have those. I ordered them because I'm a customer. Looking directly at the lady, I say, are you going to let your employees treat a customer like that? She says, I've known Mark a long time and I'll take his word for it. So I reply, well, then you've lost a customer forever till you get rid of this hack fraud. Take Mark's word for what? Think about that for a second. If Barger's recounting this accurately, this woman freely admits Waid has told her stuff about Barger, and because she believes what Waid said, even though she's never met Barger, she's willing to let her employee disrespect a customer at a customer summit where other customers can see what the fuck just happened. This is the sickness that is in the industry. You have a person like Mark Waid saying wild shit about people, either intentionally or incidentally turning those folks against the people he talks about before any of those people can defend themselves. So by the time they find out about it, it's too late. He's already poisoned the well. You know, it would be a shame if Mark Waid were involved in a lawsuit where one of the claims against him includes the argument Waid threatened to drum up a hate mob to bully a publisher if that guy published the comic by somebody Waid didn't like. Because if that were happening, this could kind of be tangential evidence showing that, yeah, he's got a pattern of doing this. You stupid man. This is Mary Kay Letourneau stupid. Like, hey, I just got away with child rape. You know what's a good idea? Go rape the kid again. In my car, on the street, in broad daylight, the day after I got off. What could go wrong? It's that kind of stupid. Why are you bullying people when you're in a lawsuit over you, allegedly, bullying people? What possesses you to think you could do this now when everybody's aware of the shitstorm you caused for yourself and think that no one's going to say anything? You've been beefing with this dude for years. You think he's going to keep his mouth shut? What the fuck is wrong with you? Where is your lawyer? Where is Mark S. Zaid Esquire, super attorney at law? Why are you doing shit like this without somebody from your team there to make sure you don't run your mouth? It's like you need Super Nanny to keep after you. Barger posted this thing on his Facebook page, so it made the rounds and apparently got back to Waid. And you know, he's like a male feminist in a girl's dormitory. He just can't help himself. He says, quote,
For the record, no one made any sort of pleas for donations. No one threw a comic book. Humanoids is eager to partner with retailers, is grateful for their attention, and realizes how critical they are to our success. Mr. Barger, who, to the best of my knowledge, no longer owns a comic store, was politely asked to remove himself after being openly disrespectful in numerous ways throughout the weekend to our sales manager.
I'm sure you're going to present evidence of this, right? Because that's really specific. It's not one instance, but you're accusing Barger of harassing the sales manager. That's basically what you're saying. So can you even tell us what he did? Or are you just poisoning the well?
She, whose name Mr. Barger can't be bothered to remember,
but you didn't name her either,
invariably behaved with exemplary professionalism towards Mr. Barger, despite, among other offenses,
which you never name. Dude, you're just trashing him. He could be a bad guy. I don't know. What I do know is that so far you haven't actually said what he's done. You're just accusing him of shit to get people not to like him.
His referring to her throughout the weekend repeatedly only as girl or hey girl.
That's it. That's what you want us to be offended by. He calls someone he doesn't know girl. And yet here you are standing behind this girl, using her as a shield for your shitty behavior. I thought the strong protect the weak, Mark. You're supposed to be the big man. I'm Mark Waid. I stand for the little people. So they have space to step in front of you when you need to hide like a bitch.
Humanoids has a 40-year history of treating fans and retailers with courtesy and will continue to do so.
Except for this time where you, a current employee of Humanoids, disrespected a retailer, which you then admit to doing.
Speaking not for humanoids, but for myself, however, I personally am sometimes less charitable towards those who are repeatedly disrespectful towards my fellow employees.
Translation. I threw the book at him. I'm just too much of a feckless, egotistical, hypocritical coward to admit it. Mark Waid, ladies and gentlemen, proving that you can be a dick and still have no balls.